Recently, representatives of the Overseas Korean Association in Ho Chi Minh City and the Korean Consulate General organized activities to collect donations to support Vietnam in the prevention of COVID-19 epidemic. Accordingly, the delegation presented 1,000 face shields, 500 bottles of hand wash water, and 30 million VND in cash has been given to representatives of health offices in Ho Chi Minh City. This is the support of the Korean community as well as Korean businesses in Ho Chi Minh City for those currently in quarantine. At the same time, this action also shows the spirit of accompaniment of overseas Korean community with Ho Chi Minh City's disease prevention efforts in particular and Vietnam in general.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sharing Vietnam on VTC 10 Network channel. And today we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Kim, Chairman of Korean Association, about the donation event of prevention of coronavirus disease program in Ho Chi Minh City. So, hello Mr. Kim and welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
At the moment, the situation of COVID-19 is complicated, not only in Vietnam but also around the world. Recently, I knew that Korean Association in Ho Chi Minh City just has some practical activities to share with the donation event of the prevention of coronavirus disease program in Ho Chi Minh City. So, could you share more details about those activities?
방역 조치 중에
In the process of preventing and fighting against the COVID-19 epidemic in Vietnam, there have been many cases of Koreans being quarantined when entering Vietnam. Our Overseas Korean Association has provided basics and necessities to help them spend 14 days of isolation more easily. In addition, in this difficult time, we also provide cakes, shrimp noodles, etc. for Vietnamese friends in the quarantine. Recently, we visited and gave some gifts such as goggles, protective gear, and hand sanitizer for health centers in District 7 and District 2. These are two concentrated districts of many Korean people, so we also pay special attention to show the true spirit of solidarity together to overcome difficulties. In the past, about 120 South Koreans and 200 Vietnamese have been isolated in about 11 quarantine zones in Cần Thơ. So we donated about 800 boxes of bread to these quarantine areas. In addition, we also provide necessaries for the isolated Koreans here. At Củ Chi Field Hospital, we donated 350 boxes of bread and 350 boxes of hand wash water to those in isolation. There are about 150,000 Korean people living and about 5,000 Korean companies are operating in the Ho Chi Minh City and neighboring provinces. The Overseas Korean Association is an organization representing the Koreans living here and protecting their rights. In addition, the association is also a bridge for cooperation to show the friendship between Vietnam and South Korea.
What are the messages that Korean Association wants to convey through those activities?
코로나는 전 세계적으로
The COVID-19 pandemic is bringing a great threat to humans. Worldwide, many people have been infected, and in Vietnam, this number is increasing day by day. In this situation, it is impossible to live for yourself, but to work together to win the disease. In this respect, the Korean-Vietnamese cooperation is extremely important. Especially, there are many Korean expatriates living and working in Vietnam at the moment. So we always coordinate with agencies and comply with the policies of the government of Vietnam in preventing and controlling epidemics. In the implementation process, there are also some difficulties, especially in terms of sensitivity. Like now, there have been a number of fake news, or there have been some unnecessary conflicts arising due to the fact that the two sides do not understand each other. For example, in recent times, a number of flights from South Korea to Vietnam have been isolated due to Vietnamese government's COVID-19 prevention policy. During the quarantine period, the Vietnamese side tried its best to reduce the inconvenience for the quarantined people here. The two countries, Vietnam and Korea, also joined hands to resolve it. However, there are some individuals who have exaggerated the problem that caused dissatisfaction in the Korean community towards Vietnam. At that time, the Overseas Korean Association stood out to correct these rumors that there was really no Korean dissatisfaction with Vietnam in this incident.
So as we know that Vietnamese government is currently working hard to prevent the spread of coronavirus. So how do you evaluate these solutions?
최근 베트남 정부의
Following the recent policies of the government of Vietnam, we can see the extremely strong determination to overcome the epidemic of the leaders of the government. It is undeniable that these policies restrict the business activities as well as the freedom of citizens. However, we think that the Vietnamese government's anti-epidemic policies are very sound and are strictly following them. Because if not acting aggressively, the disease can spread as quickly as in the US and Europe. I think the Vietnamese government's favorite measure is probably a 14-day quarantine rule for people who enter Vietnam from abroad. Recently, many people have been infected with COVID-19 from Europe. Without this regulation, the number of infections could be much higher. I think this is a very timely and successful policy of the government of Vietnam to prevent the widespread. In South Korea, at the beginning of COVID-19 epidemic, there was an expert who suggested that the government had to enforce quarantine restrictions on people returning from foreign countries within 14 days. Unfortunately, this has not been possible, which is probably one of the reasons for such a sharp increase in the number of infections in Korea. Therefore, I think this is a very successful policy of the government of Vietnam.
And what do you think about the support of Vietnamese government to its Black communities and Korean communities in prevention of this widespread coronavirus pandemic?
베트남 정부는
I think that the government of Vietnam does not have any discrimination between Vietnamese and foreign citizens. Currently, anti-epidemic policies are applied equally to all people, so officials and authorities only comply with the instructions and regulations of the government. In particular, I would like to express my gratitude to the overseas Koreans to thank the officials in the quarantine areas for their hard work in improving conditions and meals for Koreans in quarantine areas so that they feel most comfortable during this difficult time. These days, under the direction of the Prime Minister of Vietnam, social distancing starts from April 1st, 2020. Accordingly, the social distancing within 15 days on a national scale is based on the principle that families are separated from families, villages are separated from villages, communes are isolated from communes, districts isolated from districts, and provinces isolated with provinces. Workshops, production plants have to ensure a safe distance, wearing masks and disinfection according to regulations. Accordingly, the Korean community in Vietnam is very confident and adheres to the disease prevention directives issued by the government of Vietnam. Currently, many Korean citizens are living in District 2 of Ho Chi Minh City. In the situation that COVID cases are showing signs of increasing in this area, we have coordinated with representatives of the local authority and Department of Health People's Committee of District 2 to perform the task of protecting citizens, disseminating the disease situation. In addition, the two sides cooperated and proposed to provide equipment and cars to protect people against epidemics in the area. Facing the widespread situation, along with the worries of the whole community, especially the people living in District 2 and District 7, we also want to help push back disease development in Ho Chi Minh City. We have discussed with the Korean Consulate General in Ho Chi Minh City and the Overseas Korean Association in Ho Chi Minh City and deployed contributions of medical equipment and information to the community to join hands to fight against the epidemics. With the joint efforts of the government and the community, it is expected that Vietnam will soon reverse the COVID-19 epidemic.
How do you evaluate the connection between Vietnam and Korea in preventing and fighting COVID-19?
This is a very important question. I think cooperative attitude is a very important factor in the current epidemic time. Currently, the Korean test kit is a product of advanced technology, which is highly appreciated because it can give accurate results in a short time. Many countries around the world also have plans of using this kit. Compared with other countries, we want to become a partner of Vietnam in the healthcare field, not only in this epidemic but also in the future. Because there may be more global epidemics like COVID-19 in the future, so the cooperation of two countries in this regard will benefit and strengthen the friendship between the two countries. I'm not an expert in this field, so I cannot answer correctly. But first of all, physically, Koreans and Vietnamese share the same Asian race, having common elements in terms of disease. So with Koreans' advanced medicine, if cooperating with Vietnam, we can recover from global diseases and epidemics.
So does Koreans Association have any plans to continue supporting the prevention of COVID-19 in Ho Chi Minh City in the future?
We look forward to the end of COVID-19 pandemic. However, if the epidemic persists, we'll be happy to join hands with Vietnam in combating against the epidemic through small gifts, but if you need, we will always support. Moreover, there are many Korean businesses operating in Vietnam. We will always stand side by side with Vietnam in the fight against COVID-19.
So do you have any advices for viewers about what they should do in quarantine to help them get over the pandemic safety?
Recently, 150,000 people are living in Ho Chi Minh City. In Ho Chi Minh City and neighboring provinces, no cases of COVID-19 have been reported. In addition to maintaining good personal hygiene, we also avoid crowds of people. For example, the case of Ba Buddha in Ho Chi Minh City. If we engage in such a large gathering, we'll certainly contact people with a potential risk. The Overseas Korean Association has called on residents to avoid contact with many people, to avoid crowds and expatriates who are doing well. I think it is important to avoid contact and gathering people. The term is to keep social distancing. Currently, we are very successful in this, and I think Vietnamese friends should implement to keep social distance thoroughly. Personally, besides not gathering people, not attending church services, I also do exercise in the mornings and evenings to improve my immune system. It is very important apart from maintaining personal hygiene.
좀 권장해드리고 싶습니다. 운동이 굉장히 중요합니다.
Thank you very much for sharing. I hope the pandemic will meet its end soon. I wish all the best for all the people who are now standing to fight the COVID-19. Good things come to those who wait.
Thank you.
감사합니다.
And thank you for watching. See you next time.